Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you the stories that matter from across the world. Shining a light on the biggest issues and controversies, I'm Kerry Johnston, live from the Firstpost studios. But first, a look at the day's headlines. Indian Air Force instructors are to train UK Air Force pilots under a new defence agreement finalised between the two countries. The Iranian government establishes a commission of inquiry to look into protests against the high cost of living that turned into anti-government rallies, which left thousands dead in the country. The Trump administration officially ends the controversial immigration crackdown in the US state of Minnesota, ending weeks of widespread enforcement actions that sparked backlash across America. The Danish Prime Minister is set to discuss the status of Greenland with US officials during the Munich Security Conference, weeks after President Trump backed down on his call for an American takeover of the Denmark-administered territory. And Thailand's caretaker Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul says his winning party has agreed to form a coalition with the party of jailed Thai ex-premier Thaksin Shinawatra. The remarks follow a general election in the country over the weekend. We begin with the latest from Bangladesh. The country's first general election since the ousting of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is over, and the results are now in. The nation of more than 175 million people has delivered a clear and decisive mandate. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP, led by Tarique Rahman, has swept to power with a commanding two-thirds majority. According to the Election Commission, the BNP and its allies have crossed the 200-seat mark in the 350-member parliament. That's well above the 151 seats required to form a government. Well, final voter turnout stood at just over 59%. In Dhaka, the mood is one of cautious optimism. Many residents say they're hoping the BNP's sweeping victory will bring peace, stability and a fresh start after months of political turbulence.
Tarique Zia is an honest man. If he weren't, would people vote for him? Tarique is a great leader, and Jamaat people are against the independence of this country. Those who oppose this country's inception don't deserve to win. The election was very peaceful this time, in comparison to the previous ones. There was no violence whatsoever. I felt festive going to the polling station.
As the results trickled in, cheers, chants and camera flashes surrounded Tarique Rahman's convoy. The BNP chief waved at his supporters after a dramatic political comeback after spending 17 years in self-imposed exile until his corruption convictions were overturned. The son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, Rahman is now poised to take charge of a nation still emerging from months of unrest. On the opposition side, the Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami also struck a pragmatic tone.
We expect that as soon as the government releases the official results, we will call you, the journalists, again to share our final views on the election. You can be assured that our stance will be positive, focused on constructive and people-centered politics, not party politics. We will not oppose simply for the sake of opposing.
In a parallel referendum, more than 65% backed the proposed July Charter. Now, that's a sweeping reform package designed to prevent one-party dominance. The proposals include prime ministerial term limits, the creation of an upper house of parliament, and stronger judicial independence. And as Bangladesh turns a political page with Tarique Rahman in the spotlight, global reactions also poured in, reflecting both hope and strategic calculation. Neighbouring India was among the first to respond, hours after congratulating Rahman on his election victory. The Indian Prime Minister spoke to the Bangladeshi leader. Narendra Moody said he conveyed his best wishes to Rahman as he moves to fulfill the aspirations of the Bangladeshi people. The United States described the election as an historic moment, praising its largely peaceful conduct and calling it a step towards stability. China, too, moved quickly. In a statement, Beijing congratulated the BNP, adding that it looks forward to writing new chapters in bilateral relations. From Islamabad, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif extended warm congratulations. He called it a resounding victory and expressed hope for stronger regional cooperation. A notable signal given the strained Dhaka-Islamabad ties during Hasina's tenure. Maldives President Mohamed Mouazu also took to social media to congratulate the victorious Bangladeshi leader. So for millions of Bangladeshis, this election is more than just a transfer of power. It's a moment of reset after uprising, exile, transition and turbulence. Well, the world is watching closely, though, because while the ballot has spoken clearly, the real test now begins. Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Debapriya Bhattacharya, Distinguished Fellow at the Centre for Policy Dialogue in Dhaka. Welcome to the programme. So overall then, in your opinion, what are the challenges that now lie ahead for this new government?
Thank you for having me. I think that first and foremost, of course, we need to have a smooth transition of power. The new government has to be brought to place. Before that, the oath has to happen. We have an absentee speaker at this moment, so the constitutionality of the oath-taking process has to be sorted out. But once the government is in place, the cabinet has been formed, the major challenge will, of course, be to deal with the constitutionality or the charter which has been approved by the people, what type of amendments of the constitution and also other legislative measures are to be taken. This will be the number one issue in front of the parliament. The other, of course, is the economic challenges. To stabilize the economy, controlling the price, the inflation, the issue of energizing the investment, work, social protection, all these issues are there. And these economic challenges take quite a lot of new dimension with the disruptive development which we see in the world. And that brings to the third issue, that is the geostrategic concerns, the geopolitical concerns in the region and beyond, and how does one manage those relationships in a balanced way in favor of the country's development interests.
And
so
this
those
is
are the three
incredible.
I would like to highlight.
Right. And given what you say, this is an incredible turnaround, isn't it, for Tarique Rahman, given all those years he spent away?
It's a new beginning for Bangladesh in many ways. The way people joined the election, the way they have voted, it only shows that the maturity of the population, the voters, particularly the participation of the women and also participation of the youth. The expectations are very high, and there is the demand not only to run the country, but also improve the governance, the structure, and also the delivery of the public programs through a non-corrupt way. Those expectations are very, very high at this moment. So the government will obviously have to deal with these high expectations with their high performance.
You make a very important point there, of course. What about that youth vote in particular? To what extent will the new leader have to address their grievances and quickly?
The new leader will have to address it quickly. Before that, of course, he will have to put together a competent cabinet of ministers where both the experience and also the youthfulness have to match each other. And in that case, the collective leadership, which has to be projected through it, how does he also reach out? He reaches out to the opposition, civil society, business community. That will be also to be seen in the coming weeks.
Okay, Debapriya Bhattacharya, thank you very much indeed for your insights and for joining us here on Firstpost Spotlight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, from political exile in London to the doorstep of power in Dhaka, Tarique Rahman's return to the centre of Bangladesh's politics remains nothing short of dramatic. With the Bangladesh Nationalist Party winning the election by a landslide, The 60-year-old political heir stands poised to lead a nation still reeling from a youth-led uprising that toppled Sheikh Hasina. So who is Tarique Rahman, and what does his rise mean for Bangladesh and its neighbour India? Well, Tarique Rahman is political royalty in Bangladesh, the eldest son of former President Zia-ur-Rahman and three-time Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. He grew up at the heart of a dynasty full of bitter rivalry that has defined Bangladeshi politics for decades between the Zia family and Sheikh Hasina. But his own career has been controversial, once described as the Dark Prince. During his mother's prime ministerial tenure, he was accused of running a shadow power structure. Arrested in 2007 on corruption charges, convicted in absentia in multiple cases, he spent 17 years in self-imposed exile in London, maintaining that the charges against him were politically motivated. Well, after the fall of Hasina's government, courts overturned key convictions, clearing his path home. He returned to a hero's welcome last December, in the run-up to yesterday's general election. Ideologically, the BNP has always positioned itself as a nationalist party, emphasizing sovereignty, Islamic cultural identity, and a firm but diplomatic foreign policy. Its latest manifesto conveys the same message. Bangladesh has friends, not masters. Rahman has struck a conciliatory note on religious minorities, saying that religion is individual. The state belongs to everyone. He's promised constitutional reforms, digital transformation. The BNP leader has also campaigned on job creation, promising vastly more employment over the next 5 years.
If we are in the government, we need to provide jobs for the young people. We need to provide, bring businesses in the country so that jobs can be created, people can have a better life. We need to provide medical service for our people. We need to provide, rebuild the education system for our people. There are many challenges, and to fight these challenges, of course, in this world, a single country cannot fight it. They need friends, of course, we need friends.
The question, however, is delivery. Bangladesh is battling economic pressure, youth unemployment, inflation, and fragile institutions after years of political conflict. Rahman also carries baggage. Corruption allegations still linger in public memory, and skeptics question whether the BNP has truly broken from its past. For India, the stakes are significant. New Delhi and Dhaka share a 4,000-kilometre border, deep trade links and critical security cooperation. Under Sheikh Hasina, relations were close. Under the BNP, historically, ties have been more fractious. Past governments led by Khaleda Zia were openly sympathetic to insurgent groups in India's northeast. Water-sharing disputes also continue to strain larger India-Bangladesh ties. Rahman says he now wants mutual respect and mutual benefit, but some of his party leaders say he will seek ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's extradition from India. Meanwhile, from New Delhi, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already congratulated him. The move could mark a fresh reset. In New Delhi, Bangladeshi observers are expressing optimism.
The way in which the people of Bangladesh have shown that they are religious, but they are not in favor of Islamic radicalization, they are not in favor of Islamic extremism, and they will not support any fundamentalist party. This is the first message, I think, from the election results. I'm sure India will have very good relations with the BNP, and it will be very good for the subcontinent, for South Asia, for India's neighborhood first foreign policy.
But trust will have to be earned. Domestically, Rahman must also manage a resurgent opposition, a powerful Islamist bloc, and a youth population that expects results, not just rhetoric. After 17 years away, Tarique Rahman returns, not just as a political heir, but as a leader being tested. His mandate is clear. His legacy, however, is yet to be written. Now, imagine America's tech industry as a giant machine. A machine that never stops running. It builds apps, secures military networks, runs hospitals, and keeps Silicon Valley alive. Now, imagine that machine is missing a critical part: workers. Well, that's exactly the situation the United States is staring at right now. And into this story walks Washington with a new idea, a $100,000 fee for every H-1B visa application. Now, H-1B is the legal entry ticket, as it were, that allows skilled foreign tech workers to work in the US. Indian IT companies rely heavily on it because their business model often involves sending engineers on site to American clients. US firms also require H-1B workers for high-skilled jobs. So, if it suddenly becomes vastly more expensive, it's bound to create panic.
स्टूडेंट्स जो इंटेंटफुल हैं, जो जाना चाहते हैं अब्रॉड के लिए, उनके माइंड में पहले इतने डाउट्स होते हैं, इतनी इनसिक्योरिटी होती है, दे हैव टू गो इतना दूर. सो ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारे बच्चों पे इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा, वो अपना ड्रीम चेंज करेंगे या फिर वो अपने ड्रीम को छोड़ेंगे. प्लस सर इकनॉमी से बहुत ज़्यादा इफेक्ट होने वाली है, यूएस की भी और इंडियन इकनॉमी भी. एट द एंड सर वो इतनी अच्छी कंट्री, लाइक दुनिया की बेस्ट सबसे बड़ी पावर है, वो ऐसे अगर गलत फैसले लेगी तो सबकी इकनॉमी, वर्ल्ड वाइड इकनॉमी इफेक्ट होगी और जितने भी ग्रोथ प्रोसेस है वो स्लो होने वाला है.
And here's the twist. Moody's, the global credit ratings giant, says it may slow India down slightly, but the country's biggest IT firms are resilient. Take the big four, TCS, Infosys, Wipro and HCL Technologies. Moody's says these companies have EBITDA margins of 19% to 26%, which is far above the average of global peers. Now, the EBITDA margin is simply industry jargon for how much profit a company keeps after paying its core business costs. So, if a company earns $100 and its EBITDA margin is 20%, it keeps $20 as profit. So even if Indian firms continue sponsoring the same number of H-1B visas, Moody's estimates the extra cost would be about $100 to $250 million. But that's only about 1% of the revenue these firms actually earn. This might be painful, but not deadly. But the real story isn't just about visas. It's about a numbers problem America cannot escape. The US is expected to have about 300,000 IT job openings every year until 2034. But it produces only about 100,000 computer science graduates annually. That gap is why American companies keep pulling Indian talent into their orbit. India produces around 2.5 million graduates in this field a year, compared to America's 850,000. That's why Indian nationals have made up to 70 to 75% of all H-1B approvals since 2020. Tighter visas could reduce remittances. That's the money sent home by workers living abroad to their families. But Moody's sees alternative engines firing up. Europe IT industry is growing. Global centres are expanding inside India, and Indian firms are hiring more Americans locally. So smaller IT firms may struggle and get swallowed up due to Washington's H-1B visa curbs. But for the IT giants, the message is clear. America can make visas more expensive. It can add friction, but it cannot erase the one thing America desperately needs: the people who keep its tech machine running. Now, a US comedian and YouTuber has triggered online outrage after delivering an anti-Hindu speech in Texas. Dressed in Indian attire, comedian Alex Steen impersonated a member of the Hindu community while mocking its beliefs. He appeared donning a yellow kurta, black shorts and slippers at the Plano City Council meeting, where elected officials deliberate on city policy, budgets and legislation. In his opening remarks, he introduced himself as a young Indian boy from the holy land of India. Well, during his speech, Steen insulted Indian traditions. He also repeatedly mocked the Hindu reverence for cows. His remarks created visible discomfort and anger inside the room, as members of the Indian American community at the meeting staged a walkout. His remarks drew sharp condemnation from an Indian American advocacy group, the Hindu American Foundation, or the HAF. Well, they criticized the council for failing to intervene during what it described as anti-Hindu rhetoric. HAF called on city leaders to uphold their own policies, ensuring that public meetings do not turn into what it called a circus of hatred. It said the council's own guidelines could have prevented the speech from continuing.
Despite their code of conduct documents stating that microphones could be shut off for incitement, disruptive or irrelevant comments, Anti-Hindu hatred was platformed uninterrupted and without condemnation. We ask that cities adhere to their own rules and not allow public foray to be turned into a circus of hatred and targeting of any community.
Well, the speech extended beyond local issues as the YouTuber dragged in US national politics. Steen targeted FBI Director Kash Patel, referencing his Indian origin, and ridiculed his personal relationship. He claimed Patel was shielding the Epstein files and went on to ironically thank Donald Trump for Patel's appointment. The backlash emerged amid increasing reports of racism directed at Indian Americans. There have been multiple instances where several Hindu temples across the United States have been vandalized in suspected hate crimes, deepening fear among religious minorities. Public figures like Second Lady Usha Vance, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, and even Congressman Sri Nadir have also been subjected to racist online targeting. And all this as an intense debate rips through America over the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. So Steen's anti-Hindu remarks did not just stir up a local meeting. The episode has struck a nerve at a time of growing unease among Indian Americans amid a worrying increase in reports of hate crimes, temple vandalism, and fear in the community. That's all we have time for on the show today, but we'll see you again on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.